One. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Living Yosh. My guest today has one of those stories that sounds almost impossible. Sam had never played organized football and went to an Orthodox Jewish high school that didn't even have a football team, like most Jewish high schools. Yeah, he said to his sights, "I'm playing Division I football at Texas A&M without compromising who he was, an Orthodox Jew. He kept Shabbos, wore his kippah and tzitzit, and chose number 39. I love the story behind that. Representing the 39 melachot of Shabbos. And after years of work and determination, he finally stepped onto the field at Kyle Field. But today, I want to go beyond the football. I want to talk about Sam's faith, family, determination, the attention that came with his story, and what's next. Sam, thanks for being here, my man.
Thanks for having me, brother. I'm honored to be here.
My man, I want to tell you, I know sports wasn't the football wasn't the biggest thing for you growing up, but tell me a little bit about what you're into as a younger kid. What your hobbies were. Were you the shy kid? Were you the popular kid? Tell me a little bit about yourself growing up.
Growing up, like when I was a kid, I football wasn't a big deal in my life, but like I always played sports. I played baseball, I did gymnastics, I played tennis. I lived on a street in Philadelphia where like we used to always go outside and play on the street together on Sundays after school, like during the spring. It was just being active was always just like a part of my life as a kid. So, growing up in Philadelphia, I grew up in the city. I I guess I had like I can't say like it wasn't a split personality, but it was just sometimes you are shy, sometimes you're not. I think as I grew and developed, I stopped being shy completely, and that's where and what got me to where I am today. So growing up, my
Oh
mom
wait,
I
my
lived in
man,
a
you're an Eagles fan?
yeah, of course.
Man, I was a Cowboys fan growing up.
Might have to end the podcast there, man.
I mean, no, not anymore. No. I'm a Chargers fan because I grew up in San Diego.
I'm just
I
kidding. I'm
I
just kidding.
love Troy Aikman. Like I played quarterback.
Oh, gotcha.
But I do have a feeling that you played. Do you ever play sports in the snow? Because that is the coolest thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did I ever play what?
Do you ever play football in the snow?
Yeah, yeah. Like when I was a kid, we did back on the street in the snow in Philadelphia. That was fun. That was fun.
Yeah. By the way, when it's like halfway up your, because I lived in Chicago too, when it's like halfway up your ankles and like you're falling over and tapping people, and it doesn't hurt because you're falling in the snow. There's nothing better. So tell me about your family, my man. Is your family a sports family? Were they into sports too?
Yeah, yes and no. I grew up with my mother and my grandparents. My mother, she did sports in high school. Like she ran track in high school. She played field hockey. My grandmother back in the Soviet Union, like she played basketball. My grandfather was actually an artist, but he loved baseball.
Wow.
Yeah, he loved baseball. He was like kind of like all like very very American guy, and he used to play with me all the time. Also, when I was a kid, my dad, he was a bigger sports guy. My dad was definitely a bigger sports guy, but he's the type of guy who really liked to play more than he'd like to watch. Like I can say, like my family was definitely more of a playing family versus a watching family.
That's awesome. I mean, that means your family was very active, right?
Yeah, yeah. That it was really like obviously like we watched baseball and stuff like that, and the Phillies and the Eagles when they were doing good or like when they were going far in the playoffs. But in terms of what we actually did, I really did play a lot more than watch.
Wait, so I was gonna say that were they just like when you said you're gonna play football, were they like overly protective, like, oh, you might get hurt and we're scared of you, but it sounds like based on your family being so active and what they did, they're just like, okay. Like a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
mean,
parents would be like, are you crazy?
yeah, no, my family kind of just was just like, yeah, okay. I mean, like my dad supported it from the get go. My mom once I explained to her like what my purpose in doing it was, she supported me. And my family is pretty supportive. I think I didn't tell my grandmother about it until like obviously she found out like after it happened, and they became people become supportive. I think once they find out what you can do, what you're given the opportunity to do. Sometimes people aren't always supportive from the get go, but like when they start seeing results and stuff like that, then they become more supportive.
So I saw videos of you in parking lots, playing around and practicing. How did you decide, the process you were gonna take to possibly make the team before you even made the team? What was in your mind like, this is what I have to do. I'm gonna work my butt off, obviously, but what was step one?
Step one was just to go out to the field. I mean, like that's really what it was at the end of the day. It's like, okay, they're eventually going to have tryouts at some point, so I'm going to be ready for when they do. And that was really what it was. Like, I'm not a big fan of trying to make sure that everything is exactly perfect before it happens. You just kind of have to launch and then let the process teach you along the way. So that's really what it was.
Texas A&M was the school you wanted to go to the whole time, or you had other
Yeah.
options?
Yeah, I had already gone to Texas A&M. So I was already at Texas A&M when I decided to do it. But I really just learned like you kind of let the process guide you. Like, you do this and then you get this, you get that wall. So you got to understand how to get over it or get around it or go through it. And it just eventually keeps on going until you break through. And then, once you break through, everything happens.
And you weren't intimidated by these massive guys that have been doing this since they could learn since they were walking?
Yeah, I mean, see, that's kind of the thing. Like, everybody always asks me this question. I've always found it quite interesting because, like, once you like
Sorry.
gain,
Sorry.
huh? Right? Like, it's always an interesting question because everyone's like, "Oh,
No,
football
sorry,
players," huh? No, 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 because like
go ahead.
everyone asks me. So like, they're like, if when you're around a football player locker room and like, you're really heavily involved, like you realize that there's a very large variance in people, right? And sizes and shapes and everything. So like, yeah, like if you are dealing specifically with the offensive and defensive line, that's one thing, right? So maybe like if you're a running back, whatever, you're going to deal with it. But like, and I started off with that, but then I got switched to wide receiver. And a wide receiver, like, yeah, there are guys who are somewhat sizable because you're occasionally dealing with linebackers, especially if you're going over the middle. But when you're dealing with just like DBs, they're a little more lanky than I would say they are like sizable. I mean, that's not to say that there aren't,
Were
there
you
aren't
always
on either end, but there aren't on either end, but like they're just not, the people that people are thinking about are like offensive linemen, and that's just only, it's five positions, five very, very, very important positions on the field, but that's a sector of the area that I almost never have to deal with.
were you always fast?
I think I always had the natural ability, but I didn't necessarily have the training, nor the training to really like actualize it. I would say like I definitely always had it, but no one ever really trained me how to run until really past year. So
So what was it like competing against these guys? Because obviously you took spots that other people were trying to get. I mean, they don't take everyone. I mean, it's Division I. Like you're
yeah,
competing hard. Like what was it like competing at
yeah. What was it like? I mean, like it was obviously every competition. I treated almost every practice, especially in the beginning of my career. Like treated every practice as if it was going to be my last, or as if it had the potential to be my last. So in my mind, I always thought I was getting cut, and I showed up as much as I could every day. And there was a lot of failure, a lot of failure. I mean, like getting jammed up, missing the play call, learn because I have to learn everything on the fly too. So like you got to learn the plays that you don't really understand why they're the other way because you don't even have a basic understanding of football. But that lesson comes, but like you're learning the plays and you're learning the terms and you're learning where to stand on the field. You're learning everything at the same time. And there was like a lot of failure, but then I ended up figuring stuff out and started doing more and becoming a much better player. And I think at that level you compete and you also become a lot better because it's kind of like you're competing against the best, so you learn your weaknesses a lot faster. You don't necessarily learn bad techniques, right? Because you're basically learning what works and what doesn't much quicker, which is the main process is you have to know what's wrong. And a lot of people get caught up in like bad technique or the trainer taught them the wrong thing or this, that, and the other. But like I didn't have that. I got thrown into, coaches who were getting paid $500,000, you know, head coaches who were getting paid seven to tens of millions of dollars. So I learned and adapted a lot quicker.
do you do you feel like there was a target on you? Because honestly, I could just see guys like I said that have been doing this for years, and they're just like, who does this kid think he is? Like he's gonna come here and make the team? Like do they almost feel like, like, no way we're gonna let that happen?
No, it was kind of the opposite, actually. They were like very supportive because they saw how determined I was to be there. Yeah, they saw how I determined I was to be there because, I trained outside of the facility every single, almost every single day for 9 months. And they all saw that. So they were very happy when I came into the locker room. Everyone, it was like, it was, I think me combining my personality and who I am, like everyone was just kind of very, very supportive because, I got an opportunity and I always made the most of it because I always stayed after practice and worked hard and did everything I could and did my best to be a good teammate, encourage people,
So once you went into this, you're like, there's no turning back. Like I need to make this team now. Like you obviously would have been a little disappointed if it didn't work out.
Back then, I think there would have been a little bit, but not really much because I kind of really understood that, especially like as I had just right before I made the team, I really came to this understanding that if it's the will of God, like it'll happen. Like if God, wants it to happen, then it will. And there's when you have that thinking, like there's no barrier that you could conceive of that can stop you because God's on your side. And that's the way that that's really the way
Yeah.
I, went about it. But I also understood that, like, if that wasn't the opportunity, or that wasn't what God wanted me to do, that, that it would be something else. But it was different at that point, because at that point I only devoted, 11 months of my life to it. Right. It's much different than when you're, coming up on, was this 2026? I'm coming up on my 5th year.
Were you always that spiritual? Did you always, like, believe that whatever is meant to be is meant to be? Did you grow
You
up
know,
that way? Did you grow up very spiritual?
yeah,
Very
I grew up
connected
very
to God?
very spiritual, very connected. I also think though that, I mean, me having to make the team also forced me to learn and connect a lot more. Like, you there's only so much you can learn from theory. You learn a lot more, at least, if you're lucky, you can learn from theory. Put it
So I
like that.
wanna ask I agree. That's nicely said. I wanna ask you about 39, which I think is really cool, but I have to ask with it, if there's one of those 39 melachos that was probably the hardest one to deal with as a football player, what do you think it would be? Because it had to be tough, man, like,
It wasn't tough at all.
wow. Did they made it convenient for you, or they worked around your schedule? I mean,
I mean, I told them exactly what I couldn't do, and they were cool with it. So,
it's amazing. Wow,
yeah,
that's
yeah, like, there were games I didn't get to go
that's
to, but
great.
me not going to those games was also, fulfilling the purpose.
I respect the fact that you're so committed to your religion and you're so determined. I mean, that's hard to do. It's hard to tell yourself no when, like, you're kind of tempted by the excitement, especially all the hard work. So that's amazing. Good for you.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, the hard work was for that purpose. I was working hard to not play on Shabbat, because I knew what the ramifications for people would be with that. You know what I mean? So, like, it's all part of why I do it. Like, when it comes down to, yeah, I mean, like, that's what it just comes down to. When it comes down to not playing on Shabbat, like, that's my whole ethos, right? Like, not especially because in that situation, like, yeah, you work so hard, you do whatever, you don't even get to get, as much of the, like, there were games I probably would have had at least an opportunity to play in. That, especially like when they're letting the walk-ons play, like, that I just didn't get to be at because it was on Shabbat. Like, my coach asked me if I wanted to travel to LSU one week. Like, they need an extra wide receiver to go, and I wasn't able to travel to LSU because it was Shabbat. And, like, but the
Dang.
thing is, I never really thought twice about that. You know what I mean? Because it's like there's no other reason for me to be here. Like, I know I'm here by God, by God's divine will, and if I'm not acting in accordance with it, it can be taken away from me like that as well.
Why did you do this if you knew it was gonna be it's most games are Saturday? Like, was there more than just football? Was there a mission to be a voice, to kinda, be an influence on the younger generation? It wasn't just playing football, obviously, right? Or maybe it
Of
was?
course, of course. I mean, this is what most athletes make a mistake in, is they envelop themselves in their sport, and that becomes their identity, right? That's, for me, the sport is the medium. It's a tool, but it's not my identity. Thank God. Like, I trained all that time because there were two things. I knew that, one, if a 5'6" kid who never played football before can make it onto a Division I football team, then it should inspire just people. Forget about Jews, for everyone to be able to inspire anyone to go out and do the things they've always wanted to do, accomplish things, and realize that there's more to their potential than that they've been told, or that they've been telling themselves. And the second part of that, which, it's not in any particular order of importance, right? Because they're a dual part of it, but, for different groups, it is important, right? Because, like, obviously in that whole concept, I can show the world, what God has done for my life, and more of like it wasn't like oh, I was a 5-star recruit, standing, starting, saying praise God. Like, I mean, like, obviously you're praising God in that situation because you could have easily not been a 5-star recruit, but in this situation, it was really like you can tell that it's a miracle. And the other part of it is, like, the Jewish world needs to see someone who loves what they do, but understands that God comes first. And when it's time for Shabbat, like, Shabbat takes precedence, and God takes precedence. Your relationship with God takes precedence. So that's why, that's very central to
So
why I did it.
it's amazing. Like, you literally went through something that people would dream of being able to make a message like that. Like, you are a voice now. You literally became a voice to so many people. So I want to ask you, you had to have some nicknames from all these guys on your team. Are there any that you could maybe share? Or unless there was none,
Any
there has to
nicknames
be some
from my
nicknames that you
teammates?
guys, as the, sig- huh?
From my teammates? Yeah, I
From
mean,
your
there was, like,
teammates.
there was, like, really one. There was one nickname. It was Lil Sam.
That's it? There's nothing like
Yeah.
joking around about being a little Jewish boy, or
No.
are you just not telling me?
No, I'm serious. Like, no, there wasn't anything like that.
Wow, okay. That's so did you get a lot of questions about Judaism from your teammates? Were they
Yeah,
curious
of
at all?
course. 100%. 100%. Very curious.
So you were like the, I guess, the rabbi of the team.
Yeah, right? Team Rabbi. That's a that's a good way to put it, I guess.
That's a better nickname, my man. Team rabbi.
Right? But
You can
yeah.
introduce them to fish, to father. Like, what are you eating, man?
No, I would
So
never
what was
do
it
that.
like? What was it like hanging out with your teammates, like on like after a game? Like, would you go to their parties? Like, were you like they probably brought you as like their like little brother?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was. I was like the team's little brother, like a class pet, if you will, you know? Like, but no, I didn't, my teammates like did try to get me to go out with them. There was, but like I just couldn't. I couldn't, for the sake of like just, doing the right thing according to, the Torah and stuff like that. And obviously there's no issue with hanging out with your teammates, but like, being in that type of environment, was not something that I could, you know, was not something that I could have afford. Not to say like I myself would be fine, but like you got to be a role model. You got to be a role model.
Yeah,
So like,
I hear that. That's here. So I wanna ask you, what was it like taking your first big hit?
I mean, it was fine. Like my first big hit was we didn't do hits really in practice. We didn't hit in practice until we only like did it occasionally in the summer, and like then we did like tackling drills when the new head coach came in, and the first like big hit I got, like it wasn't even like it was it was a tackling drill, but like the DB's coach let the guy run early before I got the ball. So by the time I already got the ball, he was already up. He was already like wrapping me up. You know, about what I've not. I don't know if I have met. I mean, I've forgiven the DB's coach, but for the sake of for the sake of joking around, I've not forgiven him.
It's crazy, man. Okay, so based on my research, you got into a game against New Mexico State. Your heart must have been pounding, man. Like
No,
when you
it
got that
wasn't actually.
opportunity, what was it like?
Yeah, I mean, it
Okay,
wasn't.
so please, I apologize then.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, you would think that it would be right, and like by any like sense that you would think, but I spent now this is 2024. I made the team in 2022, and like I started training in 2021. So you visualize and you train for the moment so much that by the time you get there, it just kind of feels like practice. So like it didn't feel different for practice. Like after the fact, I was like, oh wow, like this might have actually been like a big deal because like no Orthodox Jew has played in a Division I game yet. Right. So afterwards, I was like, wow, this is kind of wild. But like, I had been hyping myself up.
There's thousands of points.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the scenery is unreal. The scenery is unreal. There's
Yeah. Absolutely.
thousands of fans.
Absolutely. And it kind of just becomes like white noise though. Like you kind of like you get out there. And I mean, I was more trying to make sure I didn't mess up because I hadn't repped a kickoff in, I don't know, 9 months. That's just not something it's not a unit they had me on in practice. So I went out there, I hadn't done it in a while, and I had to remember like where to line up and, do all of those things. So that was really going through my mind. Then also just to not false start. So I actually started running like a split second after all my teammates because, I obviously, when it's your first time, you really just don't want to screw up on live TV.
Been very happy for you. Your teammates must have been ecstatic.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a
Yeah.
big deal.
They
This
were
was a big.
really, they got really hyped. They got really, really hyped.
Did the coach say anything to you afterwards?
I mean, they all, they were all like excited for me. I think everybody, even the new coaching staff that came in that didn't really know me or know me in the beginning because I was brought in by another coaching staff who took me in like a stray dog from the field. Like they didn't know who I was, and I think they eventually like through the process of me being there did get to learn about me. And everyone was excited for me. Nothing special happened during the play. It was like a fair catch, but everyone was just happy
And
for
they
me.
didn't put the Gator bucket on your head?
No, no, not like that. Not like that.
I would honestly, that's a dream. It's a dream come true for me. Like I would love to do what you did. Like I always wanted to play football as a kid. Like you literally lived the dream. You really did.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a lot of
So
people tell me
cool.
that they
And
like
I know.
live their dream. A lot of Jewish boys have.
Are you in touch with any of these other Jews, like Tamir Goodman? Like, have they heard your story and they reached out to you?
I'm trying to remember. I think Tamir did. I think he did, or his brother. I know I've definitely spoken to his brother before, but I think so. I think I've
Because
spoken
now
to
there's a
Tamir.
Division I basketball player,
Yeah, there is.
Gab
He's a
Gab Gab yeah,
yeah, yeah,
who
he's the first in
he's actually
25
my
years.
friend's,
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy, and he doesn't play Friday or Saturday either.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was talking he was just in the New York Times. I just spoke to, his uncle. It's pretty unreal, man.
yeah,
Jews are
no, it
making
is.
a statement.
I'm glad it's well, the thing is, the thing is, like, I think in the modern world, it's a glass ceiling that Jews have created for themselves. Like, they are the ones telling the kids that they'll never be able to play on Shabbat. And so obviously then no kid ever does need to have those accommodations made, and so then, or so then it just never happens, nobody even knows about it, right? Like, it's just that's what it is. Someone's gotta be a pioneer in that situation so people can realize it can be done, but at the same time, you have to be able to learn to stand on what you believe in. Stand on what you believe in, and, like, that's
So you yeah, and
sorry to cut out.
you're one of those people. No, you're one of
Yeah,
those people that live the dream. You're
right?
person for kids. And you officially have a title, and you are a spokesperson. You did it, man. That's pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, thank God. I mean, I'm very blessed to do what I do, but, I always have the onus to do more. I think people don't when you're the first to really do something, it comes with a lot of responsibility. I mean, like, first, maybe second, third. By the fourth, I don't know if you really have the same level, but, like, where I am right now, I feel like a tremendous amount of responsibility and a tremendous amount of onus to do more, right, and continue going.
So the way I look at it is that you've already done it, and now everything else is a bonus. If that makes sense. And now everything you
Yeah,
do,
no,
because
I totally
you already are, you already did the hard part or the fun part, or that you already are a spokesperson. Now everything you do is just a win. It's win after win after win after win, which is so
yeah,
cool. And you're
yeah.
so young. You're so
Thank God,
young. You're
right?
already ahead of the game.
It's a good thing,
So
I think the key is always
I'm
thinking
so
you're behind
jealous,
the game.
man. So when did you decide that? Obviously, you knew it was already a big accomplishment being a Jew playing Division I football, Orthodox Jew. When did you decide I want to be a spokesperson? When did you decide? I see you speaking. I see your stories. When did you want to start representing yourself as someone who sends a message, and you knew that people were going to start listening to your voice?
Yeah, I knew that was happening in about, that would happen in about January of 2021 when I was still training. Like, I had
Oh, wow.
I did really I had the vision that would be the case, and so, like, I started, I had been speaking, I had been working on social media and stuff like that, and I guess all the things that I had been speaking, whatever. Like, I'm thankful that I was generally an eloquent speaker. And so, when it came down to it, it's just like, it flows together. What you do and what you're, naturally good at just synthesize.
So what's the next message you want? You played football. Now what's next? What do you are you going on tour? Do you want to, visit cities and speak to kids? I mean, what's the goal now? I know you want to keep on playing
Boom.
football, but
Yeah.
what else do you
I mean,
want to do
my
with your
goal
voice? Because your voice is powerful.
Yeah, my goal is to keep on doing things that inspire people, right? That's like where I am. And so, like, speaking, I'm working right now on putting together like a media organization, putting together, I think I am going to put together a podcast, something I want something that young men can listen to and that's positive, that like something that's positive and that they can gain inspiration from. That doesn't promote vices like you see a lot of other podcasts doing, a lot of other media doing. And I want to create like a space where young men can listen to people who are the experts of their field, in sports and in spirituality, and they can get that kind of that together. So, there's like we really have just only began. Like playing at Texas A&M was just the beginning, and now it's just figuring out how to perpetuate and continue doing good things, doing interesting things, and doing powerful things.
I love that. You should definitely start a podcast, man. I mean, and you would do extremely well because
Thank you.
you probably have kids lined up at the door to listen to you interview people. I mean, go for it. You can
Yeah.
even have my views.
Thank you. Thank you, man.
Good for you. No, I think you should. No, but in all honesty, and I tell all of my guests that you should definitely come to Hollywood, Florida, and speak at our shul, because we have that type of crowd where they would be in, like, seriously, like, we very much like people that are inspirational and people that are, like, very real, and they're not doing it for the fame. They're just being themselves. And I could tell that about you. You just want to send a message. You're very much yourself, and that's really cool. So I
Yeah, I
I
appreciate
highly
that.
recommend you come to Hollywood.
I would love to tell them to reach out to me. I have, bookings at samsalz.org. I have everything. I've done all the infrastructure part. Now it's the marketing side.
Okay, I will. I will definitely have that happen. I'm gonna be especially like if you come visit one of the schools there, like I'm telling you, man, you already did it. Like now you just need to get the calls and I'm happy for you. I'm very excited for what else you're gonna bring.
Thank you, man.
So I want
Thank
to
you.
ask you something else. What's something people assume about you that's completely wrong? And what I mean by that, do some people assume you did this for the attention? It could be anything, but is there, have you gotten
Yeah.
any hate? Have you got any people,
I think the number one thing that people assume about me that's wrong is that one of the number one questions I get is like, well, how do you play on Shabbat? I don't play on Shabbat. I think that's one of the top things people assume about. The other thing I would say is like people assume that I played football my entire life. Like, people read headlines, don't necessarily read the stories, which, whatever. Like, this is just the world that we live in. But yeah, like they assume I played
yeah,
football my entire life or like that, that's not what it was. A lot of people like, there's a lot of people would, like, be like, "Okay, well, like, I know your story." I'd be like, "Yeah, well, what's my story?"
I get that too, my man. I get some assumptions about myself too. I don't know if you heard my story at all, but which you don't have to. It's all good. But I definitely get mixed messages. It's what goes with it. You put yourself out there, you're gonna get a little bit of everything. But I hope it wasn't too bad what you get. 'Cause you're
No,
a
I
good kid.
mean,
I would
people
hope
people
not.
listen,
But
people have assumptions, like, people on social media have whatever, but, whenever people have those things, like, they're looking at the wrong metrics. People looking at stats and, like, I look at stats differently. Like, obviously, like, they look at the stats, like, playing stats, and I look at stats of, like, how many lives my story's been able to change, right? So in terms of efficacy, like, obviously, even though I would like to play on the field, I still also do see it as like, well, listen, like, you know, 20 years, nobody's going to really know nor really care about your stats, but anybody that you've gotten to change or that you've helped bring some meaning to is going to have something that they always look back on at the very least.
yeah, right. How is your connection to Judaism or even Hashem grown since this big responsibility you put on yourself as having an image and having a voice?
I think that it's grown a lot. I've had to definitely navigate my relationship and learn how to make it stronger and also learn how it is a real relationship. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of times it's very easy to kind of make it transactional. And one of the things I've really had to do is, you know, learn how to really make it intrinsic. I think that the intrinsic side, and I think that's probably really, really difficult, for people is to learn to make those types of things intrinsic. But it's grown tremendously. Like, I've learned a lot since I've taken this learned a lot of Torah since I've taken this upon myself. Looked to a lot of wisdom and done a lot of prayer and just understanding that like God is really guiding me and is paving the path, and it's just something that I have to learn to trust. And even though I tell people like, yes, you have to trust like the path, like, and I have lived that, sometimes like there's like level one of living that, and then there's like level two. And you always have to expand in your faith and your trust and
Yeah.
your moon and your chakra.
I want to ask you, Sam, who's your mentor? Who do you look up to? Because now a lot of people look up to you, but who's your go-to?
Man, You know, I can't say there's any one person that I really look up to. I think that I pull from a lot of people. I think a lot of people have different strengths and things that I would want to emulate, but I wouldn't really want to emulate any one specific person. Like I look up, I go and I would say I walk my own path for sure. And, I one of the, I have had my people from my childhood who I would say had like a ton of influence on me, my community, had a lot of influences, like my teachers, I would say had a lot of influence. And then there's stories like, like the Lubavitcher Rebbe is something that, or someone that I would say, the way that he looked at the world is kind of a way that I look at it, where it's as far as from what I've heard from all the stories about him and from what I've known growing up around Chabad, was that what made him so unique was the uniqueness with how he viewed people in the world to just be like everybody else. And that's something that I definitely hope to be like.
All right, commercial break. That's what we're having. A quick commercial break
Yep.
from Sam. He had to leave for a second, but that is okay. If not, it was a great interview. This kid's a very amazing kid. Yeah, I can't believe what he's done for himself and for other people. I mean, those are the people that they have a story to tell, and Sam definitely has a story to tell, and he's done something that I don't know how many more Orthodox Jews are going to do and decide not to play on Shabbos. Like, gosh, like it's unreal. It really is. It's so cool. Gosh, I wish I was a kid again. I wish I was able to do what he did. Yeah, I'm too old now, and maybe I consider going back to college and go for like 9 years of eligibility. That's even possible, but I doubt it. Actually, I'd probably be in like my 10 years of eligibility. Now that I think about it, I don't even know.
Mhm.
It's been a
What's
long
that?
time. You back, my man?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm back. Let me see. Why is it not rotating? Okay, I guess we got this way. This work?
Let me see. I hear you, but I don't see you. That's the weird thing.
Let me try again. Let me try to read and rejoin.
Okay, cool. I was just talking about how jealous I am of you. To be honest, I was talking to myself about how you're living my dream, basically. That's okay. I'm still living my dream. I'm still happy. I had to not play football, but that's okay. Because Sam did instead. He's the one who's going to be a spokesperson for Jews that want to play football at Division I schools. So, what's the message that I'm sure you get this question all the time, that you would tell younger kids who are outside playing football, in fifth grade, eighth grade, and their dream is to play football? What do you tell them? Obviously, you don't tell them no, you can't do it, but it's very hard. Like you did it, but what do you tell these kids?
I think you ask them why. I think it's a hard question because kids in fifth grade through eighth grade, they can't really conceptualize it that well, like a why that's beyond themselves or maybe their immediate family. I think that's what I would tell. But what I would also tell them is that make sure people love you for who you are and not what you do.
Wow, I love that. So I want to play a little game with you before you get kicked off again or you fall asleep. I know you have long days. So this is my speed round. It's multiple choice, okay? And I'm just looking at the first question and I'm like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? But that's okay. I'm gonna ask it
Okay.
anyway, my man. It's all good. Okay, first one is Eagles or Cowboys. I can't believe I'm even asking
Eagles.
this, but
E-
it's there, so I have to.
Eagles.
Favorite football player of all time? You could say yourself.
Favorite football player of all time. One tough one.
I mean, the Eagles have had some pretty good players.
Yeah, the Eagles have had some pretty good players. Oh my gosh. There's some
You
really
have to
good
go
ones. I think.
offensive. I mean, that's
Yeah, no, for sure offensive. Like it would be really like I picked like some boutique like safety would be like a crazy but I'm probably gonna have to go. You know,
they could be
I
playing
think
now. You could say Barkley. I mean, he's pretty well known.
yeah. I mean, if I'm saying like favorite player, I think it's also like an appreciation of what they've done. Sorry, what they've done outside of football as well. Like that's a tougher one. Like someone I can say like I definitely obviously respect a lot, Julian. It's such a typical answer, but like I respect it just because from the path from understanding the path perspective, for him to come through. Like I guess Wes Welker also kind of had something similar. I think because he was actually kicking like the backup kicker for the Dolphins or something like that when he got traded or something like that or reset. He got cut and signed.
You
Uh,
definitely have a new appreciation. You definitely have a new appreciation for football now.
Yeah, for sure. I think like someone like a Wes Welker in terms of obviously as a player was a great player, but like opening up the game up for the slot receiver. He is definitely one of the peak guys. Julian Edelman also, although you know yeah, I mean Julian Edelman also, but I think Wes Welker was an undrafted free agent. Where Julian was drafted in the
He
seventh
was.
round, which like were borderline like I guess similar areas. Darren Sproles was obviously for making a big career out of
Starter.
really yeah, I would say another one I actually respect a decent amount be like Britton Covey. For he's 5'8" wide receiver. I guess he's been with the Eagles and the Rams and then went back to the Eagles. I definitely respect like his path, what he's done. Deontay Harris, which is like really, really niche. He's actually, ironically, he was coached by the current head coach at UCLA, Bob Chesney, and he went from being at a Division
No
two
way.
Assumption College. Yeah, he went from a Division two Assumption College to being a return man on the Saints. And ended up playing for the Saints and the Bills. I think until he was eventually cut by the Raven in his which in what would have been his sixth season. Yeah, I think like a lot of people ask me AJ Brown. I would just say like in terms of like receiver that, as far as at least from like 2024 someone who I would just kind of look at as a very like complete receiver. AJ Brown, I definitely would say is there. But they're different guys I appreciate for different things. Overall for me, like you have to
That's a pretty
combine
good
it.
select.
Yeah, I mean overall, I would say somebody who is undersized, overcame adversity in the sport. Who ended up becoming something and producing and having a successful career. So basically, me in the future, right? Like that's what I would say.
Those are great answers, and I love the reason behind it, my man. Good, that's awesome. Okay, hardest football drill. To
Hardest
me,
football
just
drill.
learning the plays would be the hardest thing.
You know, I don't know if it's necessarily hard. It's just dependent. It's like in conjunction with everything else going on. I think when you're one of the toughest was, well, I would say most physically demanding when you're in practice is this kind of like period where you go from routes on air to, what is it? Sorry, you go from, I think, special teams to routes on air. So, for someone who's running on kickoff, like you're on a kickoff team, you're just running in a straight line as fast as you can, like 3 reps in a row with not that much rest in between, and you're going to routes on air, which obviously you're running your routes full speed, and then depends on where it goes. Because there are some stretches of practice like the coaches can combine to make brutal if they really wanted to. Like especially if you're like on the kickoff team and you're like just you got to run like 4 reps like straight as fast as you can, and then you got to then you got to move around, jog over to the other field, and then run routes on air. Like I can't say anything like specifically to do with one, but there's definitely combinations that will get you physical. And then I would say, like, honestly, you have to combine it with being out in the summer heat in Texas. I think that's what it is. Like, if you have summer heat in Texas, then you're running, special teams, routes on air, individual, and then you got like your team period. I think like that's like, that combination without a break in between in 100 degrees in Texas in full pads will like, it'll have you going.
I'm sure you're a very confident kid.
Thank you.
Am I wrong?
Yeah.
No, but
No,
even
you're not wrong.
I'm saying
You're
in a
not
good
wrong.
way. You,
My bad. You're
Sona,
not wrong. I was saying you had a good
it's
confidence. Yeah. Thank God.
I could tell. I could just tell. It's great. It's great. That should be your message also, how to teach kids to be confident. Because a lot of kids, like, they think so low of themselves, man. Like, put that on your podcast, how to make a kid confident. Because, a lot
Yeah,
of
I
kids
think.
have a very low self-esteem.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's also just like the people you have around you. I think like, you just can't have negative people around you, and if you do, you have to like learn to tune out everything they say, pretty much.
Yeah, I agree. Favorite Jewish holiday? Just say Hanukkah. Let's make it easy.
Oh, favorite holiday? No, so my favorite holiday is Sukkot or Yom Kippur.
Nice. Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Most famous person who's ever DM'd you, unless that's private. Besides me.
Most famous person.
That's okay. Maybe it's not a very good question.
I don't even. I'm trying to think.
Just say my name to make me feel good. It's fun.
I have.
It'll be good for ratings.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I have one. The most famous person who's asked for my number, but that one I have to keep private. Like not like
That's
who
okay.
has gotten in
I'm not.
contact with me through. Yeah, no, not like for romantic purposes. I'm just like the most famous person just who want to talk to me.
We could get into that if you want, but I didn't think you wanted to get into your personal life.
No.
Although it's
But
not
yeah,
gonna be hard for you to get shit off. I already know. Like I'm sure you have people knocking at your door like, "Oh, I have a daughter. She loves football. Go figure."
there's definitely a time where like people were like, I have people in my Instagram DMs, like dad, straight up dads in my Instagram DMs. That's how when you have the dads DMing you, like you're already on top of it,
You made it, man. If you have dads, that means you made it.
right? It means like, yeah,
Forget
exactly. Like
football.
you got
You
their
are.
approval before they met you.
Jeez, God, I would never got that. Okay, what's one NFL stadium you'd love to run onto the field in?
I have to say, I can't say I'm the biggest NFL stadium fan. I think after playing in Kyle Field, though, everything kind of
Okay.
like pales. I would say the one stadium I would really like to run on the field run out in is the Rose Bowl. I would love
Yes,
to. I
that
would
would be
love to. I would
sick.
love to play at the Rose Bowl. That's what I would say. The Rose Bowl, the LA Coliseum, and then I guess if I have to say professional, because I've been on I've been on NRG. I've been in NRG. I wasn't like it's a professional stadium, just has a kind of a different feel, but probably the Eagle, probably like the Eagles, probably Lincoln Financial. I guess maybe SoFi would be cool too.
Just be careful with be careful what you say because if they want to draft you, they're going to look at this interview. So
Right, right.
you
I
only
mean,
got to
listen,
stay
like,
positive.
no, I am. Listen, I am positive. I am positive 100%. I think like I would obviously be honored to run out in any NFL stadium, but I think like anyone who's honest with themselves will say that running out, there's not, you just can't. It's incomparable to running out to like 100,000 drunk college kids. It's just like I mean, no NFL stadium even holds up to. I think the highest is like 85,000. Like Texas
No,
A&M.
man.
I've been at games with 115,000.
That is so cool. Like, seriously, like, oh man, I wish I was a kid again. I mean, not that I would have made the like Division I, but like you took my dream. Thanks a lot. Okay, I got
And
two more. Finish the sentence. Anything is possible if.
you don't give up.
Yeah, that's good. That's the perfect answer. Finally, finish the sentence. Being Jewish means.
Everything.
Gosh, man. Yeah, I could see why the dads DM you. You're slick.
Thank you, man. Man, it's like making my raising the
Gosh,
confidence, bro.
man. Like, I don't know if you practice these or it just comes natural. You might get a DM from me. My daughter's a little young. Sam, seriously, man, I honored that you came on my show because you seriously, you're a great kid. Forget the football part. Like, you're just a cool kid.
I appreciate that,
You're
bro.
very
I really
like
appreciate that.
genuine. It's true. I mean, like you just say it as it is, but it comes out so good. Like I could see why you want to represent, the Jewish people because you do it right. Like after that politics, man, I'm telling you, you are off to such a good start. Like,
Thank
and I
you.
don't say
Thank you.
that to
From your
everyone.
mouth
And
to God's
I'm a
ears.
very honest person.
Thank you, brother. I
But and I
appreciate that.
think part of it is that Hashem picks you because you can do it. I've asked you before, like, why, and I don't only do Jewish people, but I'm like, why did Hashem pick you? And I see why Hashem picked you because you're very honest, you're very kind, and you're very straightforward about how you get things done and why you get things done. And to me, that's the message that everyone needs to hear because, like I said earlier, we all go through struggles, we all go through ups and downs, we all go through uncertainty, and you're the definition of how we get through that. We don't give up and we just say it as it is and we just represent our people the right way. So I'm honored that I had you. Please, please keep doing what you're good at, which is a lot.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
And I hope when you get drafted, I'm the first show you go on.
Hey, let's do it. Let's do it.
And by the way,
Plus,
if you're in Florida, by the
huh?
way, my man, I have season tickets to Dolphins. So if you're here, we'll definitely go to a game together. The Chabad does it right in the Dolphins parking lot. They do a big like tailgate and like it's fun as hell. Like
That sounds
and
awesome.
definitely I got you hooked up. I got pretty good seats and I'm right by the kosher stand.
Oh, sweet. Well, Devon Chain was my teammate.
Really?
Yeah, I played
Oh
with
my
him. I
God,
sat in
man.
his chair
So
my
you're
first.
gonna hook